telling us that if that's ever happens, I'm gone. I'm gonna we can put it up for sale, that you all finished up. Asking price on it.
And we are live. I'm going to go ahead and call to order the regular meeting of the City Council for June 3rd, 2024. Looks like all present and accounted for. That'll lead us to invocation and pledge of allegiance, which will be led by Councilmember Gardner.
Let's pray. Our Heavenly Father, Lord, thank you so much for this day and for the opportunity that we have to come together and conduct the people's business tonight, Father. We're thankful for the rain that we've had today, Lord, and we appreciate the changing of the seasons, God, and just the warm, comfortable weather that we've had. Father, thank you for giving us this wonderful city that we get to live in and call home, and we just ask that the decisions that we make tonight will be beneficial for all those that live here and that we can do the right things to make sure this stays a wonderful community in which we get to live and work and enjoy, Father. God, please put a special hedge of protection on all those that serve our city day in and day out, all those that serve on police and fire and our ambulance services, God, and we're so thankful for what they do to keep this city safe and to protect us and to take care of us, especially when we need them in trying times, God. Thank you for the blessing that we have to serve other people, and we just ask that we'll always be looking to find others to serve each and every day. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Gardner. That brings us to special guests and announcements. We have Jennifer Long and Terry Todd with Children's Protection Center. Come on down. And someone else.
Yes, and somebody else. Actually, Terry is caught up in traffic right now.
Oh.
There's a stalled vehicle on Maumelle Boulevard. So I have a couple other folks from Children's Protection Center who are here just to say thank you tonight to the city. We have Jenny Vega, who is a bilingual family advocate. She serves children by helping their family members connect to services. Jenny is actually a resident of Maumelle. And then we have Mark Bryant, who is our Director of Clinical Services and helps manage all of our mental health services at Children's Protection Center. Also a Maumelle resident, has been helping with our Dragon Boat Festival for many years. And I just am here tonight to say thank you to the City Council and to really praise the relationship and work that we've been able to do with the City of Maumelle's Parks and Recreation. We are super excited to have the Dragon Boat Festival coming again this weekend. If you guys haven't seen the signs, we put the docks out this past weekend. We'll be having about 44 to 48 teams, I think, this year, paddling to support Children's Protection Center out on the lake. This event is a big, big deal for Children's Protection Center. We are a nonprofit agency that serves all of Pulaski County, and that those are children who have experienced child abuse or who are part of a child abuse investigation. And everything we do takes funding, and so we have to raise a lot of money to be able to do that. We don't charge our families anything, and the River Cities Dragon Boat Festival is our largest fundraiser of the year. We bring about 3,000 people to the community with that event. Some of them are from here, but most of them are from outside of Maumelle, and they will paddle, they'll spend the night, they'll eat and get gas and all of the good things, and Maumelle has been such a wonderful, wonderful host to us every year. This is actually our 9th year to do this in Maumelle at Lake Willisteen. We started our first 2 years over in North Little Rock at Burns Park and then came to our senses and came over to Maumelle. But you guys have been so wonderful to us, and I just wanted to have a chance to come and say thank you, see if you had any questions, if there's any concerns you guys have of us, and yeah, just to say thank you and hope that you guys are going to come out and enjoy the festival with us.
Well, thank you very much. It's a pretty big event. If you haven't been to it, go check it out. I remember hearing about it for a few years, and then the first time I actually went down and watched it, it was mind-blowing. So I think the city has 2 teams this year. The fire department's running one, and then the rest of the city. So
I hear it's the team that is dead set on winning and the team that's dead set on having fun.
Yes,
so
those are 2 very
out
different
there.
teams,
Yeah,
the competitive and the recreation.
And we're going to do the same thing on Friday night. We're going to have some fun at the stage. We'll also have fireworks at the end. And I think we're working on maybe having a hot air balloon doing a couple hours perhaps. So just working on that piece of it as well. Not sure. And we're also going to have a NASCAR there to see. Crane is bringing their NASCAR, the Motorcraft NASCAR is going to be out there for everyone to see too. So going to be a good time.
Well, thank you very much for coming out.
All right.
The next order of business is the approval of the minutes. You received a copy of the May 20th minutes in your council packet. I'd entertain a motion to adopt those minutes.
So moved.
I've got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries.
Did we not have another comment?
Do what?
We have another public?
Yeah, we handle public comments at the public comment section, which is right now. So I have a public comment card from Leonard Unruh. Come on down. You have 3 minutes. Please state your name and address for the record, sir.
Leonard Unruh, 68 Blue Mountain Drive here in Momel. I got 4 quick issues. The corner of Momel Boulevard, no, Odom Boulevard South and Club Manor, that ditch needs to be drained. It's full of dirt and weeds and other stuff. That same corner, the Momel Senior Center needs more parking. Can't emphasize that enough. Because at lunchtime, that parking lot of ours is full and overflowing into non-parking spaces even. Second one is traffic. The signal lights you all put up, we need to do something to get people to use them more often, the yellow flashing lights. I live at the corner of Momel Boulevard and Odom South, so I get to see some of it. And there's about, I'd say half of them don't do it. We need to do something. The other one is I would like to make a recommendation that the police enforce the speed limits, especially on Momel Boulevard and Odom Boulevard. Anything over 10 miles an hour over the posted speed limits, pull the cars over, talk to the driver, give them a verbal warning and let them go. Or if they deserve it, something more. That's it.
Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate you.
All right.
That concludes public comments. Financial statement will be at the second review. We don't have it on here, but the department reports, I want to do something a little bit different. This is going to be kind of a combination of maybe Public Works and a planning report. I've asked Mike Hogan primarily to come down and talk about some of the drainage issues that we've been working on. Y'all have heard about some of the flooding that's going on in different areas and just the stuff that Public Works has been doing in that regard. And then Scott is here to sort of chime in on some of the stuff his department has been working on with those in that regard. Mike, take it.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. Yeah, it's a good night to talk about drainage, all the rain. So we've been dealing with a lot of it around town. Some of them are old issues that are reoccurring. Some of them are new that had no idea that they would flood. So I've been working with Planning and Zoning, Scott Grummer and his department, as well as the city engineer. I've got a lot of addresses. I don't know if y'all have had calls from anybody. If you're concerned about any particular one, I am sure that we have looked into it. When we have these torrential downpours, we get floods of calls stating that the city's system is failing, it's clogged up, but everything that we have checked, it's just a system overflow. When we have these big downpours, the water pushes any debris through that may be in there. So everyone that we have checked, now that's not to say we haven't seen some pipes that need to be replaced or slip line, but I think we had one of them with about a 6 or 8 inch log in front of it, but the water was still flowing. So our city system is working. It's just a system overload for the most part, and we have been doing some slip lines. I've got 3 slip line jobs. I think one is on Hibiscus. We just did one on Stone Ledge, finished that up. So I've got 3 slip line jobs on the yard. We just need to get to them and do them.
And can you explain what slip lining is?
Slip line is rehabilitation of an old existing pipe. So most of them are corrugated metal pipes. We can line that with a smooth line polymer pipe. It saves us on cost, not having to tear up fences or yards. It is kind of expensive, but in the long run, you don't tear as much up and it's a little easier on the residents, not disturbing them, so. Street department's been busy. I know we got the White Oak Crossing roundabout going on, and by the way, Mayor, I talked to somebody, with AT&T this afternoon, and they're supposed to be checking out to see if that AT&T line is, active or inactive, so, speaking of the crosswalks at South Odom, I know he had mentioned it just a second ago. We have the other two on North Odom that we're trying to get installed, and hopefully we'll get those up soon. We've just been working off our normal CIP items, trying to get street overlays, street preservations going, and just the normal routine of stuff. So we got some things going on. The Audubon Highway 100 light study, waiting on approval from RDOT on that. So hadn't heard anything, and hopefully we'll get some news on that so that we can proceed and move forward with that. I will say, I know we've been short-staffed for quite some time, and we're still 10 positions short, but we have hired some good people here lately that's kind of fit in, and hopefully they'll work. I do know that Streets still has one CDL operator, 2 position open, 1 labor position, so hopefully we can get those filled soon. Sanitation got 1 CDL 3 operator position open and 2 throwers, so sanitation is doing a little better than normal. It's our grounds crew that's hurting right now. So I will say I'm looking forward to getting the sanitation rate study. I think we've got a lot of ways that we can go with this, and hopefully I think the rates will have to go up. I think Mayor Norris has mentioned that, but I think maybe there's some options on the table. So looking forward to getting that back and seeing what seeing what that entails. Sanitation, we've got, it's not just sanitation, but we got GPS systems that we have been trying out with the sanitation trucks. We're putting them on some of the city vehicles, and they're already telling us some good stuff. So these GPS systems tell the truck speeds, and you can see the dashboards on these. We can kind of keep up with it. If a truck's overheating, you know, $300,000 vehicle, it's always nice to have a second eye on some of this stuff. And also it sends out alerts if a driver is sitting too long. If it goes out of its restricted areas, it alerts us. We know when they go to the landfill and when they're coming back. And some of the incidents we've had in the past, it was time to get some GPSs to kind of correct some of these issues that have occurred. Yeah, excited about that. Talking about grounds crew, being short-staffed on that, I know with all the rain, grass is growing. We know that. We're getting a lot of C-click fixes, a lot of calls, complaints. We deal with this every year. We'll get caught up with it soon. We're on a 2-week rotation of everything we do. The city's growing, and you know, we try to do everything in a 2-week rotation. I wish we could do it weekly to keep up with it more, but you know, the rain plays a part in it. We don't want to rut the boulevard up to where it looks like a state highway, and you know, it doesn't look good. It's rutted up. So yeah, there are days that we can't mow for certain reasons, but we try to keep up the best we can. So that's about all I got. I know Scott may have something to say about some of the flooding issues, and if y'all got any questions.
Thank you, sir. We'll come back to that if there are any questions. But Scott, I wanted you to add some to some of the drainage and flooding efforts that have been going on.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And per your prayer, some people are thankful when it rains, others may not as much. So the planning department is in the process of identifying, working with Public Works and the city engineer, identifying, analyzing, and prioritizing drainage issues within the city and its planning area. Of course, some of these issues have predated this administration, which I believe the prior administration identified about 141 properties that had been impacted by stormwater intrusion, whether that includes the apartments over that have been impacted before. In looking into the provisions of stormwater emergency overflow in subdivisions, were per our section 70-139B1. It states that above ground swells or other drainage mechanisms with the capacity to carry excess water are utilized for this. So we're looking at, I think we've identified 5 properties that were impacted on March 14th, and we're looking at trying to work with them to make modifications to help this excess stormwater get through without the impacts. Other than that, we have grants that we're working on through the mayor's department for larger projects as well as in wetland areas to help prevent damage to surrounding properties.
Thank you. One of the issues that we have, first of all, we think there's at least one home, maybe more than one, that is just in a location that is going to flood. We're looking at trying to get some grants. There's some federal grants that are in place for these sort of properties that there's really not much that can be done just because of the way the subdivision is built. You can't make water flow uphill. And no amount of drains around some areas are going to be enough to sort of stop that from happening. So that's one of the things we're looking at. And then just with subdivisions, it's important to remember back in the day, subdivisions used to only have to have the facilities to handle the rain in a 10-year event. The city council a couple years back changed that to a 20-year event. So the current newer infrastructure is in better shape than the older infrastructure. But in both cases, we're seeing flood events that are larger than 10 or 20 years. One of the things Scott's been working on with planning with Public Works is we have a provision in the code that we think has been there for quite a while that 1999 that says subdivisions are supposed to also have a route for 100-year flood events. That is, that when the system is overflowed, which we know will happen because we're not building infrastructure to 100-year events, where does that water go? And that it should have a flow path on the surface for that water to get to where it needs to go. There's a number of subdivisions that we're pretty sure the flow path is right through someone's house. And so just the way the water is going to flow just leads it right to someone's house. We think maybe one house is right in the flow path, but there's several that it kind of goes between homes and stuff like that. And you'll see those around once you drive and kind of talk with Scott, or you see those things once you it's like, well, the example I've always used is the red dress in The Matrix. If anyone's watched that movie, like if once you see it, you kind of see it. If you don't see it. But we have some properties that have things like fences that we think are actually impacting the whole neighborhood because the fence is in what's a drainage easement, which is the 100-year path. So you all may be hearing some comments about that. There's a couple different properties we're looking at, maybe making them move, or we'll move the fence so that not necessarily so their house isn't flooding, but that's the 100-year flow path for that whole area. So I just wanted to chime in some of those things. We've been dealing with that, and there were some questions a while back, and just wanted to make sure to remind you all that this is something that is, I think it's the weekly hot topic issue in the city engineer meetings and the like. That said, are there any questions for either Mike or Scott? I think we're good. Thank you, gentlemen.
Mayor?
Yes, sir. Did you do a last-minute button push?
No,
Councilmember.
no, it's been on ever since they changed people.
There we go.
I have a
Councilmember.
question about the streetlights. I know there's some that, I know they've been reported multiple times because I followed it on See-Click Fix. They've been out for 5 to 6 months.
Oh, so you've only seen the newly reported ones?
Well, when my son starts complaining, there's really a problem.
Yeah. It is just an ongoing issue that has been a struggle for the last 5 years. There's a few street lights in the city that are city lights. The primary ones to think of are Odom and White Oak Crossing, I think, are the two big chunks that are city lights. The rest are Entergy, and it's just a matter of us reporting them. So the way it's supposed to work is residents supposed to be able to just report it themselves directly to Entergy, and then it magically gets fixed. That doesn't happen. What we currently do is folks report it to us. We submit it to Entergy. Entergy no longer tells us whether or not they've repaired the lights. So Jason in planning and permits is the one who's kind of overseeing large parts of that. Has to contact Entergy every couple weeks to say, hey, here's all the lights we've repaired. Have you fixed this one? Have you fixed this one? Have you fixed this one? Once that occurs, we often are told that a light has been fixed, that it hasn't been fixed. And so every single time Entergy says there's a light that has been repaired, we flag that system. It goes over to the police department, who has officers at night when they have slow times, just verify that that light is functioning or not functioning. When they're not functioning, which is most often the case after being told that they've been repaired, we re-report that to Entergy. We had another big powwow meeting with Entergy reps a couple months ago, Deb, sounds about right, where we brought up this issue again, and we've seen some progress, a fair amount of progress since then, but it's just something that unfortunately has been, and you can go back and look at my first State of the City report, and I've talked about it ever since then, and it is, yeah. So it is a constant, ongoing issue.
Most of Highway 100 from Rolling Oaks to Odom North on the westbound side has been dark for months and months. I know I reported it like 5 months ago, and I know somebody else has reported it at least 3 times since then.
Yeah.
So Highway Department could help us, maybe?
Nope.
Real.
There's no requirement from the Highway Department that there be any lights there. So it's really between us and Entergy. What happens when you see, I will say this, what happens when you see a number of consecutive lights out is it's a problem that is a bigger fix. It's usually not light bulb fixes. So we had right at Edgewood and the Boulevard a few years back was my big pet project, because there was 4 or 5 lights all in that area, including those right where it has that yield that goes through kind of the median there. And so those are nice and bright. Yeah, no, I mean, if anyone has any suggestions on how to get Entergy to repair those lights in a timely manner, I am all ears. I think I have regular meetings with liaisons from Entergy about that. Councilmember Mosley?
Yeah, thank you guys for all your work on drainage and that sort of thing. I know Mr. Grummer and Mr. Hogan have had a lot of challenging things. I'm involved in one of them about a year ago, and it's just, there's no easy answers to all that stuff. But there's probably more attention being paid to drainage and trying to fix it now than there ever has been here in Maumelle. So I appreciate that. I did have one miscellaneous question for Mr. Hogan here. I think I'd asked a couple of months ago, the Crystal Hill Road project. I was thinking at the time, it's been signed off on, I think. And I think I'd asked you, was there anything in the contract that required them to do some test drilling, and you were going to check it? I missed your email if you sent me one or whatever.
So I did check with that.
Yeah.
There's nothing in the contract that shows that there are core samples to be taken. I checked with Holloway firm, and yeah, they didn't think that there was anything in there for core samples on that job. That's usually a state highway type or, type jobs that do that. Any of our work around here, subdivisions and stuff, I've never seen the core samples
All right.
done, so.
Yeah, I was just concerned about that one spot that was such a bad
Right.
place while it was being built, and I was a
Can't
little
remember
worried.
if I emailed you or what, but I apologize for that, but yes, it was checked into.
Okay, did you
Roy-
check into it yourself?
Yes,
Did you actually see
I
it?
talked to Roy Andrews, and, yeah, he confirmed that, it was not in the contract, and
Was, in terms of actually looking at that section of road, I think is what, it's, so not just the core samples, did y'all go out and look at that section of road, there at the end? Sort of during the punch list process, I believe you guys had gone out.
yes, and I think your concern was brought up due to, one of the areas that were failing. So when that went back in, it was inspected, and I think that's right, I'm not sure the exact
Yeah.
area, but, you know, they had made the repair correctly, and hopefully we won't have any more issues.
Yeah, I was hazy on that. I just seemed to remember a year or two ago, somebody saying that that was part of the punch process, but,
Right, it's
I
not
must
with
have
us,
misheard.
now, like I say, some state jobs or stuff like that, they usually do core samples or concrete samples, from time to time.
all right, thank you, sir.
Councilmember Mosley, I can't speak to what was specifically said or not. We don't typically do the core samples. They do the inspections, and are known for being pretty tough on it. Just ask some of the construction folks. But I remember there being a discussion about that area, that kind of, would we be going back in at the end, making sure that they had fully, not just
It's supposed to be
poured
4 inches or
asphalt, but
something.
saw cut it and did like a full repair of that with the inspections, and that did occur. I don't, there was no core samples that I'm aware of, but I don't know what somebody told you, or what was said at those meetings, there were so many of them.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Hogan.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Councilmember Tierney?
Yes, given the problems that we've had with energy, I mean, it's like, we're trying to get lights fixed. Several years ago, we had a bad winter outage where a whole neighborhood lost their power for several days because they hadn't been doing properly maintenance on cleaning lines, and a bunch of limbs broke and knocked them out. So with the power outages that we have, which is continuing to be a chronic problem here in Maumelle, and I thought we were supposed to have our entire electrical system upgraded, which has not been done, which I don't know if people will ever be able to have electric cars until we do. What other options do we have other than energy? Is this something we can maybe shop out to other energy providers?
You mean look at different energy provider for
Right.
the area?
Are we a captive customer of energy, or do we have any other options?
As I understand it, they own and operate the facilities. That is, that the lines, the light poles are theirs. That's my understanding. I think there are ways that it can be eminent domained, and either we could create an electrical company. No, we can't do that. I mean, that's an option. I think there's also options to try to give it to another entity to own and operate. I haven't looked into the specifics of that, because I have not found any simple solutions. It is a big issue. Although, so with regards to the system itself, I don't think we suffer from, I think we have below average outages compared to a lot of our surrounding areas. We do know that Entergy has been talking a lot about a redundant network, and that a lot of our power feeds into the community through very few inlets. There is a substation supposed to be going in the industrial park. And that will, my understanding is that's supposed to help with redundancy, in terms of ensuring that outages in certain areas aren't as catastrophically sort of system-wide, that we've got a more redundant network. I know they've submitted things through the planning department. I'm not sure where they are in that process, but I know that they're actually in the stages of submitting things to the city to build that substation out here. As far as the lights, I have yet to figure out a way to get those there. I have become a bigger fan of having the city own and operate the streetlights. Mike Hogan might disagree with that, but I've noticed that they do a far better job getting lights back functioning. So you'll notice outages on White Oak Crossing and Odom are handled much quicker. That doesn't mean, we have a problem with some vehicles hitting lights on a fairly regular basis on different parts of Odom. That doesn't mean we just have a yard full of the poles ready for someone to knock them over. So we do have to order parts and stuff, but I think Public Works is pretty good at it. So I think we'll see more installations of city lights, city-owned lights. My current plan is to do that on Club Manor Corridor, for example. When we revamp that road, is to just have those all city lights and not Entergy-owned lights. But I don't know how to address that through the current systems, like the areas where those lights already are, short of just stopping that service and putting our own in, but that comes with a cost of sort of putting our own lights in.
Is this the type of thing maybe we should consider forming a committee to look at other options for the city, or is this something that's just not doable
Well,
at this time?
you guys can always form a committee to look at it, sure. We've looked, yeah. Yes, I remember when I first was, I think I had already been elected to mayor, and I was talking with Mayor Watson on the outskirts of, sort of as he was going out. One of the questions I asked is, why don't you have more committees? Why aren't you getting more people on committees and sort of doing things? He goes, if I had committees, if I could form committees that would do work and provide recommendations, then I'd be all for it. But if I have committees that are merely going to recommend that I have to go do more work that I could have just done to begin with, and it's just a bunch of, he didn't say it, that's the gist of it. So when I hear committees, I'm like, well, is this a committee that's going to do something, or a committee that's going to just tell other people to do stuff? And if that's the case, I'd say, no, we don't need another committee.
But would this be the type of thing, if we did form a committee, would they have the power to negotiate with other power companies like First Electric, or maybe even North Little Rock Electric, to, compare services?
Would a committee have that authority?
Yeah, because, I mean, obviously, if you're going to make a recommendation.
That's a question for the
you'd have
city
to,
attorney, I guess.
Do some investigation if we're not going to be turning it over to you.
So a committee would have authority to meet, to invite other providers to come and speak and kind of give a presentation. Committee would not have authority to bind the city.
Right.
The way that the city council would have that authority.
But they would be able to discuss with other people, see if they wanted, if that was something anybody was even interested in bidding on.
Yes, fact finding, that kind of thing, yes.
Right.
Committees can do that, yes.
Gotcha. I'd make a motion
If
to
I-
form a committee if this
Can
is the
I,
time.
so it might be helpful, because you're talking about negotiating with other entities and looking at it, it might be helpful before that if we examine what the legal options are.
Okay.
And what the cost would be. I'm assuming we're talking a bonding issue with large sums of money based on what I've seen from other areas, but maybe we can get some, it might be helpful to get a legal opinion to say what the options are before we form a committee to start the process.
Yeah, that's a good plan.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Any additional questions or comments for Mike or Scott? Thank you very much, gentlemen. With that, we will move on to the Planning Commission report. Councilmember Grunwald.
Yes, so the meeting was on May 23rd. There were 3 things on the agenda, 1 of old business, 2 of new business. The one on old business was for CCA Phase 15 replat. Also moving from PRD to PCD, it was approved. There was lots of talk about replatting of CCA Phase 15, vacating the right-of-way and residential lots. It's already been previously approved into a commercial lot. There will be a development plan to come back at a future date. This is 12805 Maumelle Boulevard. And applicants will probably come to city council to talk more about that. In new business, Maumelle Valley Estates Phase 20 and 21. Phase 20 is 28 lots, Phase 21 is 29 lots. There was one commissioner that abstained from that, and we're talking about 10 Mockingbird Lane. This was something that was approved years ago, but it's moving a little bit, so a review was needed. A little bit of the drainage came up during that one, ironically also. And then, last but not least, Gateway Park, site plan. The mayor asked for 1 month deferral to, the meeting on June 27th, and that was approved as well. That's it.
Thank you very much. Next item of business is the procedural motion. At this time, I'd entertain a motion to have all ordinances and resolutions read by title only. Got a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. That'll bring us to unfinished business. The first item of unfinished business is the third reading of ordinance 1120, amending the master Maumelle land use plan and map. Madam City Clerk, if you will please read that by title only.
Be it enacted by the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled Ordinance Number 1120, an ordinance to amend the city's land use plan map for several areas in the city and for other purposes.
Motion to approve ordinance 1120.
I've got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on that motion? Councilmember Mosley?
Yeah, I just wanted to say again that I'm going to be a no vote on this. There's 3 items on here that would change the land use to allow mixed use, or even down by the on Crystal Hill to provide multifamily housing. I feel like these kind of things need to come from the landowner to come before the council and discuss what they're doing, and for us to have time to take a kind of a thorough look at what's going on here. I hate to see these land use changes, just kind of a blanket thing like this. So yeah, I'll be a no vote. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any additional discussion? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Mosley? No. Councilmember...
Pardon me, let me get the mics activated. Sorry. Councilmember Mosley?
No.
Councilmember Grunwald?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazzoni?
Yes.
Councilmember Gardner?
Yes.
Councilmember Williams? Yes. Councilmember Tierney?
Yes.
Councilmember Shin?
Yes.
Councilmember Holt?
Yes.
Motion passes. Ordinance 1120 is adopted. That brings us to the third reading of ordinance 1121, amending the Maumelle land use plan and map. Madam City Clerk, if you could please read that by title only.
Enacted by the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled Ordinance Number 1121, an ordinance to amend the city's land use plan map for the property commonly known as 101 Millwood Circle and for other purposes.
Motion to approve ordinance 1121. Second.
All right, I've got a motion and second to approve 1121. Is there any discussion on that? Seeing none. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Mosley?
Yes.
Councilmember Grunwald?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazzoni?
Yes.
Councilmember Gardner?
Yes.
Councilmember Williams? Yes. Councilmember Tierney?
Yes.
Councilmember Shin?
Yes.
Councilmember Holt?
Yes.
Motion passes. Ordinance 1121 is adopted. The next order of business is the third reading of ordinance 1122, amending the zoning map. Madam City Clerk, if you'll read that by title only, please.
Be it enacted by the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled Ordinance Number 1122, an ordinance to amend the city's map for the property commonly known as 101 Millwood Circle and for other purposes.
I'll go ahead and open the floor for discussion.
Motion to approve ordinance 1122.
Got a motion and a second to approve ordinance 1122. Is there any discussion? Seeing none. Madam City Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Mosley,
Yes.
Councilmember Grunwald,
Yes.
Councilmember Mazzoni,
Yes.
Councilmember Gardner,
Yes.
Councilmember Williams, Councilmember Tierney,
Yes.
Councilmember Shin, Councilmember Holt.
Motion passes. Ordinance 1122 is adopted. The next order of business is we've got several ordinances dealing with elected official salary compensation. Before we read that, I included the memo that I wrote again, but I'd like to just read part of that here again for the minutes, since it came up at the first meeting, but just to remind everyone how we got to this place. Maumelle City Code 2-564 requires that a committee be established in the month of January on every even-numbered year to consider the compensation of elected officials. That committee is charged with analyzing the compensation of all elected officials and making recommendations to the city council regarding that. The code requires that those recommendations be presented in form of ordinances sponsored by the mayor by the first city council meeting in May. And so in accordance with the city code, the committee made recommendations, and ordinances were presented, and we're on the third reading of those ordinances. So we'll start with the first of those compensation ordinances, which is the third reading of ordinance 1123, please.
Be it enacted by the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled Ordinance Number 1123, an ordinance to amend the compensation schedule for the elected position of Mayor of the City of Maumelle and for other purposes.
All right, I'll go ahead and open the floor for discussion. Councilmember Tierney?
Yes, I just wanted to clarify that this is not going to take effect until the next calendar year, correct?
Correct. It goes into effect on January 1, 2024.
I just wanted to confirm that. Thank
25, pardon me.
you.
Retroactive.
Retroactive, yeah.
Thank you. Councilmember Mosley?
Yeah, I've raised this just briefly in the last two meetings about whether the three elected employees, the mayor, the clerk, and the city attorney, whether they were full-time employees. And the city attorney did some research. I'll recap it again. He said it was not entirely clear on the mayor whether it's full-time or part-time. He did say that there's full-time benefits, so that would imply that it should be a full-time job. Both the clerk and the city attorney were both full-time. And I believe we probably should get some consistency here and either declare the mayor a full-time position to go along with the other two, or something. I had wanted to bring an ordinance in that regard to the council this week, but from some personal commitments and things like that, I just didn't get to it this week. So I'm going to try to bring one next week, or next meeting. And would anybody be opposed to doing that? I just believe if we're going to pay $107,000 for a mayor and that sort of thing, and all the others too are high price, we need to make sure that they're designated as full-time, 40 hours a week type positions, just to prevent any.
You mean only 40 hours a week?
Yeah, well, at least 40 hours a week. Yeah. So anyway. Does anybody have any reason why we shouldn't do that?
Councilmember Williams?
Motion to adopt ordinance number 1123.
Second. Is there a motion on it? Second.
Motion second. Councilmember Gardner?
I guess in response to Mr. Mosley's question, it's an elected position, and I don't know if you declare it full-time or part-time, it's still an elected position. So I don't know what the difference would be if we made it a full-time job of however many hours a week. Okay, so it's still an elected position. That wouldn't necessarily change anything. So I don't know, there may be some legal things with that as well in regard to state law and what the title of mayor is and all that we need to look into. I'm not saying I'm opposed to it, I just don't know that it does anything.
Yeah,
Councilmember Holt?
Just a brief question, Mr. Mayor. How do you feel about it? Or do you, when you ran for office, were you running as a part-time mayor, or did you in your mind's eye consider yourself a full-time mayor?
Consider it, I mean, it's a full-time job. If that answers your question.
Yes, so if we vote and make it blend with the others, then do we need to vote and make it official that it is a full-time job? I mean, Mr. City Attorney?
I'm not sure what it would add. I mean, benefits is the first thing that comes to mind, but Mary Norris gets benefits for full-time, which is why, Mr. Mosley, that's why it's a pretty good indication that the city treats it as a full-time position. I can't think of any other. Suppose you had a mayor who had another job on the side, but I mean, it's certainly possible to work one full-time job and a part-time job. You work a lot of hours, but it's not impossible. So I don't know what legal effect. If you wanted to make it just consistent, just for the sake of consistency, sure. I don't know what legal impact it would have, though.
Well, in his normal activities throughout the week, it depends on how he looks at it. Does he literally excuse himself from City Hall and go do something else and then come back? I mean, I don't know, and I'm not trying to place any, which way does he do it? I don't care.
Well, other than the newspaper route.
The newspaper route, yeah, no, I don't know that, I don't have heartburn over it. I don't know that it has much significance. I set my hours, and they vary and fluctuate consistently. I don't know that the council, and I don't think this is what's being requested, is trying to set the office hours or something like that. It doesn't give me any heartburn, if that's the question. I don't know that it accomplishes much.
No, I just think it's up to your own conscience.
My own conscience. It's a full-time job, and anyone who comes and gets this job should not think that they're going to spend a couple hours a week doing it. But yeah.
Done.
Councilmember Mosley?
Yeah. It's been a hard one. Have a hard time getting around. Those are some good questions, Mr. Holt. Yeah, just for example, if somebody like me had a business that only required, now my business requires me at least 4 days a week, but if we wanted to run for mayor and still maintain a business they already have, and then maybe just work half the time, 3/4 of the time, something like that. You wouldn't want somebody like me to do that and then draw that full salary. That's the question I'm trying to get my hand around. So I guess what I'm going to do is I will talk to City Attorney Thornton and try to get his better feel. We didn't have a chance to sit down and talk to this face to face. But let me do that, and I will try to bring something to the council, if nothing else, just to say the same words that the clerk and the city attorney are. So, thank you for your comments. I appreciate your input. Thank you.
Councilmember Williams?
You know, as a supervisor, I have both hourly employees and salaried employees. I don't pay my salary employees by the hour, I pay them by the job. If they're getting their work done during the week, then there is really no reason to question whether they're working full-time or not if they get the job done. If we think our mayor is not doing the job, then we don't vote for him the next time election comes. But as far as I can tell, I think he does a very good job, and I think he should be adequately compensated for that good job that he does. I think when we look at the benefits and we see full-time benefits, that's the inference that it's a full-time job. Whether it states it in black and white or not, I don't know that it makes a bit of difference in the world. It's just busy to be busy. So I think that we just move forward with this and keep going.
Councilmember Shin?
I think we're showing our age here. We all think that somebody's gonna short us on time. The people I see that working around me, they hit their time allotment, whether it's 37 and a half hours or 40 hours, and they're out the door. They don't want overtime, they just won't go. And I'd much rather have somebody with flexibility that when that time comes, they've gotta put in 55 hours this week and can take 35 next week and 35 after to make up for it. I got no problem with that. But to sit here and say it's a full-time job and somebody think it's 40 hours and they're like, oh, I'm out of here, and walk away, I don't know, just looking at it from the other side.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor to adopt ordinance 1123. Is there any additional discussion on that? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Mosley,
Yes.
Councilmember Grunwald. Yes. Councilmember Mazzoni,
Yes.
Councilmember Gardner,
Yes.
Councilmember Williams. Yes. Councilmember Tierney,
Yes.
Councilmember Shin,
Yes.
Councilmember Holt.
Motion passes, ordinance 1123 is adopted, which brings us to the next ordinance, which is ordinance 1124, amending a compensation schedule. Madam City Clerk, if you could please read that by title only.
Be it enacted by the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled ordinance number 1124, an ordinance to amend the compensation schedule for the elected position of City Clerk Treasurer of the City of Maumelle and for other purposes.
I'll go ahead and open the floor for discussion. Councilmember Williams.
Motion to adopt ordinance number 1124.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Mosley,
Yes.
Councilmember Grunwald,
Yes.
Councilmember Mazzoni,
Yes.
Councilmember Gardner,
Yes.
Councilmember Williams. Yes. Councilmember Tierney,
Yes.
Councilmember Shin,
Yes.
Councilmember Holt.
Motion passes. Ordinance 1124 is adopted, which brings us to the next item, which is ordinance 1125, amending compensation schedule. Madam City Clerk, if you could please read that by title only.
Be it enacted by the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled ordinance number 1125, an ordinance to amend the compensation schedule for the elected position of City Attorney of the City of Maumelle and for other purposes.
All right, I'll go ahead and open the floor for discussion. Councilmember Mosley.
Yeah, I would just mention to make sure we all remember this. These salaries are for the position, not necessarily saying, well, somebody's doing a good job, they need a raise. It's not a personal thing, it's a position and what takes place going forward. Thank you.
Councilmember Williams.
Motion to adopt ordinance number 1125.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to adopt ordinance 1125. Is there any discussion on that? Seeing none, roll call vote, please. Madam City Clerk.
Councilmember Mosley,
Yes.
Councilmember Grunwald,
Yes.
Councilmember Mazzoni,
Yes.
Councilmember Gardner,
Yes.
Councilmember Williams. Yes. Councilmember Tierney,
Yes.
Councilmember Shin,
Yes.
Councilmember Holt.
Motion passes. Ordinance 1125 is adopted, which brings us to the third reading of ordinance 1126, amending a compensation schedule. Madam City Clerk, if you could please read that by title only.
An ordinance, sorry, excuse me. Okay. Be it enacted by the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled ordinance number 1126, an ordinance to amend the compensation schedule for the elected position of council member of the city of Maumelle and for other purposes.
I'll go ahead and open the floor for discussion. Councilmember Mazzoni.
Yeah, well, this is really an insignificant amount of money in the overall budget. I just, personally, as is wont with small numbers, the percentage is very high. It's like 12%, and even though there was not a raise the last time, we're the keepers of the money, and I just, the optics on that for coming up the next budget season were too much for me. I'm not saying it's not warranted or anything like that. It's just for me, just the percentage is just a little high, so I'll be no vote on it.
Councilmember Grunwald.
Yeah, you're right, it is 12%, but 12% is $900. So, and I feel like I'm super frugal with city's money, and so to me, $900, especially because I might feel differently if if there had been an increase the last time, but, so.
Councilmember Mosley.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that I think we ought to do this. It's not necessarily that I'll benefit from it, because I'm not sure if I'm going to run or not for another term. I just have not committed in my mind one direction or the other at this point, but I do think that we need to have a reasonable amount of money to try to attract people to put in the time and the effort to run for council and undergo the stresses that are there for running and then to serve. It needs to be a fair amount of money, and I think it could be more. So I'll definitely be voting for a raise here. Thank you.
Fun little fact that I didn't want to kind of go into these numbers before y'all had voted on mine. I think I pat myself on the back. I do a great job of like appointing the committee and then saying, don't tell me anything until you guys are done. And whatever you say, I'll run the ordinances on. I don't want to attend the meeting. I don't want my chief of staff attending the meetings. I don't want any influence of that. And I know that goes for the same for the other positions here. If you think about a 12% increase, it seems like a lot, but effectively it's been 4 years since that was there, since it was adjusted last. For all elected positions in the city, they're eligible for all civilian positions, they're eligible for a 3% merit increase every year. And so over the course of those 4 years, that same they would have received that same 12%. And actually the reality is that we've been seeing salary adjustments that far exceed that percentage anyway. Relative to the growth in salaries between elected and officials and non-elected staff, you will find that city staff is moving at a much, much quicker pace upward than elected officials. I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It's just something to note when you're looking at these things, and then especially looking at percentages. But with that, did we have a motion on this? Motion. No. I'd entertain a motion to adopt ordinance 1126.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Is there any further discussion on that? Seeing none, let me get the audio set up for a roll call vote. Madam City Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Mosley,
Yes.
Councilmember Grunwald,
Yes.
Councilmember Mazzoni,
No.
Councilmember Gartner,
Yes.
Councilmember Williams,
Yes.
Councilmember Tierney,
Yes.
Councilmember Shin,
Yes.
Councilmember Holt.
Yes.
Motion passes. Ordinance 1126 is adopted, which brings us to the second reading of ordinance 1127, amending the city code. Madam City Clerk, if you could please read that by title only.
Be it enacted by the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled ordinance number 1127, an ordinance to amend the city code to provide a penalty for council members' repeated absences from meetings and for other purposes.
Thank you very much. Before I open the floor, I'd ask the city attorney to there was a question about when it becomes effective for council members. Mr. Thornton?
Yes, Mayor Norris, you asked me to look into, because there's a state law that says that you can't reduce an elected official's salary midterm. And the question you asked me was whether this could be considered as violating that statute possibly. I looked into it, and in my opinion, no, it would not. Although I'm sure that none of the people here would end up having, the 6 absences that would trigger this. No, in my opinion, it would not run afoul of that statute.
Well, thank you very much. This is on second reading, but I'll open the floor for discussion if there is any. Councilmember Mosley?
Yeah, I'm not sure how I'm going to vote yet on this. I understand that we've had a couple of things in the past that have prevented some council members from attending meetings, and they got paid anyway, and I know there's some people that that really bugs them. I don't know if it's that big a deal, because those were two highly unusual circumstances, both involving health. It wasn't somebody on strike or something like that. I mean, there are councils that do that. There are council members like in some of the cities south of Little Rock.
All over the state, but
Yeah.
some get reported on more than others.
And they don't attend and all that. And some of them there's more than one that do it at the same time. So anyway, I don't know that it's, I may vote for it. I'm just not sure. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. There's some good law review articles you can probably look up on that. If there's nothing further, this will be on third reading at the next city council meeting. That brings us to new business. The first item of new business is Resolution 2024-19, naming the suspension bridge at Lake Williston. Madam City Clerk, if you could please read that by title only.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas, and a resolution to be entitled Resolution Number 2024-19, a resolution to name the Maumelle Suspension Bridge at Lake Williston in honor of Robert D. Holloway.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Gronwald, you were the sponsor of this, so I'll go ahead and let you introduce it.
Yes, I can't take any credit for this, Jim, but it's a great idea. It actually was, I think, born on social media. I think it's actually been a while that a lot of our residents have talked about it, but I really saw kind of an explosion of support for it a few months ago. And I have learned a lot about Mr. Holloway. I didn't realize how much he really impacted the city of Maumelle. He didn't just design, engineer the suspension bridge, but he was actually asked to come help design Maumelle from the very beginning. And so he is heavily responsible for a lot of our commercial, industrial areas. He completely designed all of Lake Williston Park, including, of course, the bridge. His, I think, contributions are so great that it's actually long overdue that we recognize him, and I think this is the perfect way to do that.
All right, I'll go ahead and open the floor for discussion.
Motion to approve Resolution 2024-19. Second.
Got a motion and a second. Councilmember Mosley?
Yeah, I'll probably vote for this. I do hope the council does a better job going in the future, and I don't know that they've done a bad job. It's just that there's a lot of people that had a lot to do with Maumelle forming and becoming its own city and that sort of thing. There were some folks that Bill Kerr, state rep, and some other people that had a lot to do with Maumelle forming, and we need to make sure that when the time is right that we name some things after those people. We've got a lot of things that are named after the development community, and we need to do a good job of making sure that some of the citizens that have contributed get recognized too in some way. And so please think about that.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember Gronwald?
The only thing that I would say to that is that typically in researching and writing this resolution and proposing it, I have found that typically anytime the city has named something in honor of someone, it's often not an elected official like a state rep. So I want to point that out.
Thank you very much. If there is no further discussion, we have a motion and a second to adopt Resolution 2024. All those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. We will go ahead and get a plaque of some variety out, and unless someone's going to donate a plaque. I see some hands. Donate a plaque, how wonderful. Should have made that a condition. Of it, naming the bridge the Holloway Crossing. That brings us to the next item of business, which is Resolution 2024-20, amending the 2024 General Fund Budget. Madam City Clerk, if you could please read that by title only.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas. A resolution to be entitled Resolution Number 2024-20, a resolution to amend the 2024 General Fund.
All right, this basically just moves some money from the pickleball courts operational line item to pickleball courts engineering line item. But it's all money that has already been approved, so it's reducing one and adding it to a different one.
Motion to approve Resolution 2024-20.
Got a motion and a second. Councilmember Mosley?
Yeah, how much are these pickleball courts? I've drawn a blank. Is it 800,000 that we've allocated for these things? Do you remember?
The current budget, not off the top of my head, I do know that the current budgeted line for the capital for that is listed at 829,463, and then it shows the current budget of engineering at 10,429. But that would have just been the rollover amount from the engineering, which was primarily done last year and was budgeted at 100,000. So I think it came in budgeted amounts about 929,000, and I'll wait until I get all the invoices in before I officially say we came in under budget. But.
Okay, thank you, sir.
I have a motion and a second on that. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. That brings us to Resolution 2024-1 regarding surplus property. Madam City Clerk, if you could please read that by title only.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Maumelle, Pulaski County, Arkansas, resolution number 2024-21, a resolution to approve the disposal of city surplus property.
All right, well, this is so that the police department can sell an old vehicle.
Motion to approve 2024-21.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on that? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. Before we finish new business, I've got I emailed y'all this afternoon about a resolution for pickleball. Basically, we want to get the lights turned on, and so this resolution would allow us to do that. We can just read it and discuss it, but before that, I'd need a motion and adoption to add Resolution 2024-22 to the agenda.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion to add this to the agenda? Seeing Councilmember Mosley.
Normally, I don't like to add things at the last minute, but this is nothing controversial or anything like that, so I'm more than happy to vote yes on this.
And this resolution was drafted within probably about an hour of us knowing that we would need it, and so it wasn't just something we were holding on to. But we've got a motion and a second on the floor to add this resolution to the agenda. All those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. Madam City Clerk, if you could please read that by title only.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of A resolution to be entitled Resolution Number 2024-22, A resolution to authorize the mayor to execute a right-of-way conveyance in favor of Entergy Arkansas LLC.
This, I also passed out a little map that was there, just so you could see that stretch. It basically connects from the upper parking lot at the community center down to the, where it can tie into the electrical system there. I'll go ahead and open the floor for discussion.
Motion to approve 2024-22. Second.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. That concludes new business. I did receive a public comment card. We typically handle the public comment cards during public comment time, but if there's no objection, I'd go ahead and call the public comment form. Any objection to that? Timmons, please come on down. Name and address for the record.
Timmons.
Can you pull the mic down a little bit, please, ma'am? Thank you very much.
117 South Shore Drive, Maumelle. Since the Park on the River is so well publicized, I think that the payment should be the same. So Andrew, I'd like to hand you this check for $31,443.93. Paid in full.
All right, if I just pass it to Beatrice, and she'll
Yes.
get you a receipt tomorrow?
Yes, yes. And give this to her. This is my monthly $1,500 payment also.
Sure. Thank you, ma'am. I will pass that on to her.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That, we'll move on to mayor's comments. I'll hit first the pickleball grand opening and ribbon cutting is this Thursday at 10. If you plan to attend, and you should, it's supposed to be a whole pickleball bash. So you're welcome to come in a suit and tie, but I encourage you to come in something that you might want to play a little bit of pickleball with afterward, because I've heard there may be some pickleball games. So that's Thursday, 10 a.m. at the pickleball courts. Also wanted to point out the Citizens Police Academy is taking applications. I think they're getting ready to have another Citizens Academy. You can check that out and sign up on maumellpd.org. This is open to a lot of folks, but I would strongly encourage council members to, if you can attend the Citizens Police Academy, it would do multiple things. One, it would inform and educate you on the operations at the police department, but it's also a great idea to really be nosy and see what's going on there and to make some great contacts over there. That goes to y'all out there in the audience or at home. I strongly encourage you to really get involved, educate yourself on what policing is, and then you'll see things through a different light, and you might not question certain things, or you might start questioning other things, but it's just a great way. maumellpd.org, sign up. It's a lot of fun, too. With that, we'll move on to council member comments. Councilmember Grunwald?
Yeah, just super quick question. I know I keep bringing this up, but, you know, constituents are asking specifically about the Montpelier Audubon light and also the roundabout at White Oak. I know we're on hold with those kind of.
I'll follow back up with the state. Last time I talked to someone at the state regarding the which was 4 to 6 weeks ago. They had some heartburn over the proximity of that intersection to another traffic signal, primarily the one on Odom there. They were supposed to get something to me, so I'll follow back up with them to verify that. The roundabout is under construction and ongoing. They're doing work out there. Most of the work currently being done is on the White Oak Crossing, Counts Massey side. They're working on drainage. We've encountered a mystery line that we believe is an AT&T line that wasn't marked. but we're doing the work that we can, and trying to get AT&T to claim or not claim that line before we just go in and hopefully don't accidentally cut it. But I kid. So that's ongoing. It should be done. It should be done early spring next year. Councilmember Mosley?
Yeah, I was wanting to ask, in our budget session, we budgeted, I think, $18,000, something like that, for a indoor pool feasibility study.
Yes, sir.
And has that been finished, or?
It is going through the process of it. They did the first phase. There was various focus groups, primarily with members from the Center on the Lake. Were in these several different focus groups. And so they kind of come out at the beginning, look at things, and so it's ongoing. The first phase has been done, and it's ongoing.
Okay. I was kind of thinking this was sort of a, I don't know, a modeling program or something like that somebody had, but I didn't realize there were going to be focus groups and that sort of thing.
A modeling program?
Well, just
like a pro forma and stuff? Okay, so yes.
Just a statistical review or something.
So and I went into every one of the focus groups and did my best to say what we're looking at is the feasibility of the pool, right? And so that means that we're not saying there's going to be an indoor pool built. We're not saying it's going to be here. We're just looking at it. The problem with just doing like a pen to paper number analysis for a pool is trying to determine what the need, like what would that pool look like? And there's a wide variety of pools with a wide variety of costs associated with those. So everything from therapy pools to pools that have like flowing rivers, how big is it gonna be? How much space do you need? What is the programming? Those are all tied to the cost. And so they're kind of doing that. They're not engineering anything. It's like a planning level document where they're figuring out, assessing what the needs were. And rather than just have me pick that or Nicole at Senior Services pick that, we wanted to get input from the people that would be using it. And it was fun because I went into these meetings, I said, hey, it's really easy for you guys to say we need the Taj Mahal of indoor, pools here at the thing. I said, that's great. If you want to submit that, we'll take it to the city council. But if the operating costs and the cost to build it is so high that it becomes cost prohibitive, then you're shooting yourself in the foot. And I did not make a promise, but I stopped short and said, if you told me that we could have a free pool with free operational costs, because you guys value engineered it that well, and I took it to the city council, I can't speak for them, but I imagine it would pass, right? And so I had this conversation that says, this is not just where you're throwing all the wants out, because if you get all the wants, you're gonna get a high price tag, which ultimately means I would, based on my observations in this chamber, is a lower likelihood of it passing, right? So I had those conversations with them, but it's just that sort of early stage planning, and also assessing what the needs would be, because we're going to try and figure out what the revenue side would be also. And to do that, we wanted the input of what we thought people would want to use. Like, what would you pay to use versus just here's what we're giving you, now do you want to pay for that? Councilmember Tierney?
Yes, just to follow up on Mr. Mosley's questions. I did attend all those meetings. I was on the executive committee and also attended both of the focus group meetings. And what Mayor Norris related is very accurate about what was discussed and the guidelines we were given. I also took it a step further and was also posting online about what we were doing to try to get feedback from the general public, a wider loop of information. And this is something that's, there's a lot of enthusiasm for. Everybody wants it. The problem is to make it financially feasible. You can't make it for everybody unless we want to do a bond issue. And when I would float that idea, then everyone's like, yeah, but okay, how are we going to pay for it? Well, then everybody got real quiet. So that's where we are now. We'll have another executive committee where the fellow we were meeting with, our firm goes about designing these type of operations around the country, They're gonna come back with proposals based on the information we gave them, and then we'll have another focus group in about a month. So that kind of brings you up to date.
Councilmember Mosley?
Yeah, let me ask you a question. Are these meetings open to the public? Can people come and observe? I mean, can council members come if it's not been noticed?
Yeah, I was the one, so yeah, you can come too.
Well, they're not, so it's kind of, yes, they're not open public meetings. It's
Okay.
it's just the in-house meetings, correct.
Okay. So at this point, we wait to see what they come up with. In other words, sounds like to me, I think I'm getting a handle on this. Basically, you're gonna come up with what you want in these focus groups, or at least target in on something, and then use a consultant to put a dollar amount to it, and then see where we are at that point.
And I can get you, it might be helpful if I get you a copy of the scope of work, which is the contract that kind of explains the different phases and stuff, and that might be the easiest way for me to give you information that kind of shows what's going on.
That would be great. Thank you.
Were there any additional council member comments?
Yeah, I've got one more. I just wanted to share my experience with the fiber optic deal that's been going on over the place. They finally moved to my neighborhood over there in River Run, and they showed up one morning, and they started 2 doors down from me, and they had this magnificent piece of equipment that had a big pipe on it, and they could actually suck the dirt using water. They could suck the dirt out of the hole. And they dug a hole that was about 10 feet deep on either side of my driveway, and then they used that burrowing thing and came in and got it, and it all looked like it was all going really well. And I never saw that piece of equipment being used anywhere else in our neighborhood. I don't know what happened to it, but there was a lot of digging going on after that with backhoes and things. So I think we got a sample of what's been going on in Ward 4 a little bit, but and they did go ahead and sever a line that went to my neighbor's house and mine, and Entergy, I've got to compliment them. They came right out and put a piece of equipment on there so we had electricity, and they called it partial. We lost partial electricity or something, and so Entergy, I really hold them up because they've done a good job on my situation anyway. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember Holt.
Just want to share my personal pride. This afternoon at 2:30, there was a reception and ceremony for my son, who retired from the Little Rock Police Department after 28 years. So he's now just a private citizen and a cattle raiser, so he's done, but he was greatly honored by not only the state police, but all sections of law enforcement, and a large crowd there, and I was very pleased to attend. I'm sorry, I apologize.
Harder.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Holt. City attorney comments? City clerk comments? I feel like I missed out on the joke, which means I'm the butt of it, usually. If there's nothing further, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to adjourn the city council meeting on May the 3rd, 2024.
I've got a motion to adjourn this meeting. Do I have a second?
When you get older, you get
I've got a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion passes. We are adjourned. Thank you for your service.